Hey guys, Bruce D. Anime here. Hope you're doing well. I am, because I get to talk about Solo Leveling Chapter 137 today. And we left off last chapter, with Jinwoo defeating that big giant, right? The last giant that came out of the gate, the big one. And he did it by drilling into the eye with Beeroo, the eyes of the giant, just drilling into it. And we pick up after the result of that, like after he exited the eye and the giant fell. So we pick up with that. And he levels up multiple levels, as is per usual after his fights. But he notices that the dungeon has not been cleared because he doesn't get the message that it has been cleared. He just gets the message that you defeated a boss, the giant boss. He didn't get a message that the game ended or the dungeon ended. And so that puts me on guard that I feel like this is going to be a long one. Like this arc right now in Japan. I feel like we're not done with it, especially that what happens later in this chapter. I'm curious if he's going to stay where he goes in the end of the chapter, but we'll get to that. He can't extract the giant soul. He tries. And it makes me curious about a couple things, is that what the level difference is, right? And then it makes me wonder, do the enemies that he fights, do the things he fights have levels? Because we know that there is a maker of the game, maker of the system that he uses, but it makes me wonder if that's just a way for his body to grow with magical energy, or if, theoretically that giant had a level cap. Was there a way for it to grow, or is it just that this is a system in which Jinwoo can be imbued with more energy? Because we're still not terribly explained on why the gates open and all that. It's a mystery, right? He's not going to explain it in the first chapter, but it got me thinking about whether or not the giant has a level, if all the monsters have levels, or if it's just Jinwoo using a system within a system. Something made me laugh. We see that something comes out of the giant, and Jinwoo's like, "Stay back," he's all worried about it. And it's just Beeroo, and homie drops out of the giant's mouth like, "I have arrived." Like, it made me laugh. He just like drops out all like stylish. Like, I love that Beeroo has a personality. It sort of makes the moments with him more enjoyable. He's probably my favorite shadow that Jinwoo has. But homie just pops out, lists out of the mouth. And we see that the gate starts absorbing the magical energy. And we noticed before that, we noticed that the magical energy is different with this because Jinwoo wasn't able to sense that it was Beeroo coming out of the giant, because he was just smothered in the giant's magical energy, even though he was dead. So this is new territory for the webtoon, right? And we notice that the gate is absorbing the residual magical energy, and it's that process is so powerful that Jinwoo gets cut, and that's unusual for us to see battle damage in a long time. And just from the gate absorbing the magical energy, we see him take damage, and even he's surprised. So that's something that I think it's definitely showing a shift, not in tone, a shift in level of what Jinwoo's going to face from now on. We've seen that, right? We've seen it built up, but he's really reinforcing that this is different. What Jinwoo's going to be facing is different from what's been previous. I just gotta say, the artwork, a note on the artwork's always good in Solo Leveling. I've never had any complaints about it. I've never seen a dip. I've never seen something that made me go, like, make a face. Actually, but this chapter had the opposite effect where, since I was reading it going down, or I guess I should say I was scrolling down so the page was going up, you see a really big church after Jinwoo kind of goes to the gate, tells his guild manager, co-manager to stay back, right? And he jumps through the portal, and we just see this chapel, this huge chapel, right? And he makes a note, "Giants walk through here, no wonder it's big." But it's interesting since the page was coming up, it made the impression of like you were looking up and then down. I thought that was really neat. I thought it was impressive. I like the artwork in this chapter a lot. It really stood out to me, so I wanted to give credit there. They hear Jinwoo and Beeroo hear a laughter emanating from kind of the bowels of the chapel, the back of it. and they make, they're wondering why something would be lapping when an enemy has just invaded its territory. And come to find out that they find this other giant chained up. And it remarks to Jin Woo that at first it knows an emperor a monarch has arrived. But then when it sees Jin Woo, like we've seen previously with the ice elves and everything like that, while it remarks that he is a monarch, he is different from the one before. And so we're starting to get more and more monarch, and then in this chapter ruler talk, and the world building is kind of coming up, because we get a lot of information at the end of this chapter about who monarchs are in relation to rulers, who we find out rulers are sending enemies through the gates. So we're kind of getting the versus matchup here in terms of the world building. And Jin Woo is just, he's unfamiliar with monarchs, so I'm wondering if this giant, because of what happens in this chapter, they make a pact, which, that also a side note, talk about that. The pact that they make, they can't lie to each other. And Jin Woo tries to lie, which I find hilarious. Like, obviously you expect, this is not going to work, I'm too powerful, right? I'm too powerful for this to work. And it does. So I feel like we're going to get next chapter, especially more dialogue, more open dialogue for what's happening in kind of what's to come. What have we been seeing, and then what have we been seeing the past 137 chapters? What is all this? And I like that the author can make new stuff like this, and it's only 137 chapters, but I like that he can introduce something like this that makes me pause. A pact of, obviously Jin Woo's talking to a monster, right? An intelligent monster. When that happens, it usually communication breaks down. They're very vague. He doesn't really get any answers. But now he's having a honest at the table dialogue with another monarch. So that's huge. That's huge for this chapter, because now we're going to hopefully get answers about what's going on and who monarchs are, what rulers are. Are they rulers of the chaos world that it's named? Are they usurpers of the monarchs? Are the monarchs usurpers of the rulers? I have a feeling it's that. I have a feeling the monarchs are usurpers of the rulers. And we find out some cool other world-building tidbits, that the enemies that come out of the gates are sent by the rulers, and they're crazed because they're remnants of defeated armies at the hands of the rulers. So they're not, mercenary isn't the right word, but they're not, and not maybe vagabond, but I'm trying to think of the word, but they're crazed people who are just leftovers from previous battles that haven't even happened in the world. So humanity is having to fight these monsters that come out of the gates as a result of the rulers sending them out. And that's the end of the chapter, is Jin Woo being like, why are they sending monsters out to us? What's happening? And in one of the coolest panels, one of the coolest ending panels I've seen in this series, is just this giant smiling. And it makes me, I just like that, like, because Jin Woo can't lie, so now his questions and his responses are going to be very open. And just the monarch smiling all nice and big like that just shows that, I'm wondering if he, like, what he expects of Jin Woo, what he's thinking about Jin Woo. I guess I should say that. The smile makes me think of all these machinations with the fellow monarch. He's like, I see a fellow monarch, but he's not familiar with our ways. So maybe he thinks he can take advantage of Jin Woo. He can use Jin Woo to help him, things like that. But Jin Woo ends the chapter by agreeing to this pact and then asking why the monsters are being sent to the human world. And the monarch smiles. The giant monarch smiles, and that's the end of the chapter. Which, overall, this chapter is really good. Like I said, I really like the artwork in this. I like the world building. Really strong chapter in terms of finding out more about solo leveling's world. And we're potentially next chapter and the next coming chapters, we're going to see more about what Jin Woo is in relation to the rulers, what monarchs are in relation to the world. Because we've heard that term before. We know Jin Woo's different, quite obviously, but we don't know in relation to what? To other hunters, obviously. To other monarchs, obviously, I think. And what are the rulers? Did they make the system? Did a monarch make the system? It's all very interesting. I think this chapter did a really good job of setting up the next couple chapters, because now I'm really excited. And I'm excited every week, but like I'm really pumped to just know more about what rulers are. I'm excited for the world building. I'm excited for more exposition, which is weird to say, but I am excited for it. Yeah, if you like Solo Leveling, guys, maybe like, leave, subscribe. I want to do more Solo Leveling content. Channel sports, manga, Solo Leveling, One Piece, Jujutsu Kaisen, stuff like that. Other series sprinkled it here and there. Yeah, appreciate you guys watching the video. Later.